Development.
I call Jan Logie.
Mr Chair, I'm pleased to take a brief call on behalf of the Green Party in support of this legislation. And I hope the Minister's coping with the Greens supporting 2 initiatives in 1 week. It's possibly groundbreaking. And I do want to offer formally in this House congratulations for the change in the policy around transgender prisoners. It will make a huge difference to people's lives, and that's a wonderful thing. We're supporting this legislation. It's absolutely consistent with our view in terms of justice and the best evidence of what works in this country. Recognise that primarily it is made up around administrative changes to make the system more efficient in relation to community sentences and orders in the community. But there are some minor drafting amendments that are significant in terms of policy, and we also support those. The drafting amendments are primarily to the Sentencing Act, the Parole Act and the Bail Act. The minor policy changes will improve the effectiveness and efficiency of home detention, community-based sentences and electronic monitoring regime. And that relates mostly, it seems from my reading of the bill, to it will match now when an offender is released into the community with electronic monitoring to ensure that they're living in an area that is capable of being monitored by that electronic monitoring system. And that just seems an incredibly logical thing to match. It doesn't really seem very sensible that people are being released into areas that can't be monitored in this system. And it also will, in the event that apparently there are some occasions where offenders have been on community sentences and they've been bunking out on them, and on occasion haven't been found until the end of that sentence. And I guess a core of our system working is that people take responsibility and they are held accountable for their actions, and that system clearly in that situation that wasn't the case. So an amendment to ensure that there's the ability for those sentences to be suspended, or an application to be made to vary or cancel the sentence to match that and ensure that they are held accountable, does seem to be appropriate and consistent with the intent of the legislation. Also, we support the move to focus more on rehabilitation. Clearly, that's something that works for all of us, and that enabling probation officers to direct up to 20% of sentences to be spent in working and living skills courses without the need to apply to court for that is also a really positive measure. I think we all know that sometimes education can make a difference, as well as those wraparound services that people have talked about. We certainly would like to see more investment in those because we believe that they really work, and the evidence shows us that. So to make that, to streamline that system, to enable people to get access to those things is just a sensible and good thing. And all around, this is around improving that system of community-based services, and it has been mentioned earlier, but it's worth restating that we know the recidivism rate is much lower in community-based services. Clearly, part of that is going to be because there's a lower, there's a threshold in terms of the seriousness of a crime and the likelihood of somebody being caught up in criminality that would be more likely in a prison environment. But it is also because of the nature of the service, I guess, the sentencing. And there's something about the limitation of somebody remaining in their community which can hold them into more positive outcomes at times. And that this is something that potentially, saves us and that financial bottom line. So is a good social result, good economic result, and those kind of solutions we'd like to encourage more of. So we're supporting this bill. Thank you.
I call Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm happy to take a brief call on the administration of community sentences and orders bill. My colleague Clayton Cosgrove is very excited about the fact that I'm speaking on this bill, but I do want to just begin by placing a caution around the use of official crime statistics, because in my view, 99% of official crime statistics are rubbish, because they're very easily manipulated.